Hello, I'm Marcel, and this is my student ID. There you go. And I would like to present the lab for SMT 3. Yeah, essentially was to encode Sudoku with SMT or SMT-lib, I would say. And I'm just going to start with the int version of it. The other one is the bit vector version of it. But essentially, what I did was, first of all, I declared all uh, the cells of the grid like separately, right? So this whole part of the code represents all cells that are in the grid of the Sudoku, which is 4 by 4, which means 16 cells, and it starts with the A11, and this is the top left cell. So if I put up the picture of it, this would be this cell, first row, first column, and the 4 will be the last cell. Fourth row, fourth column. Yes. So then I set a restraint that there can only be numbers 1 to 4, including 1 and 4, of course, within those cells. So assert. Then the AND statement holds for the statement 1 is smaller equal to A11, and A11 is smaller equal to 4. And I did this separately to every single cell of the grid. Then I put up the restraints. The first one shows that all rows must have distinct values, which I took the distinct comment that we've already used in the lecture. So assert that the values from A11, A12, A13, and A14, which is the first row, are distinct. Then I did the exact same thing to the columns with A11, A12, A21, A31, and A41. And then I made sure that every 2 by 2 grid follows the same rule or the same restriction, right? So I made sure that the numbers are distinct within A11, A12, which I'm going to put up the picture. So A11, A12, then A21, and A22. And I did the same thing with the second grid. This would be 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, and third and the fourth grid. And yes, this is all I did. And I found out that my specific Sudoku is unsatisfiable. If I run this, it just puts, hold on a second. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually I didn't this is not the one where I added the constraints of the added numbers, right? The other one has assert, and then essentially those cell names are defined as the numbers that I have in here, right? So this then led to an unsatisfiable solution. Yeah, I have that with the bit vectors actually. Sorry for that. For the bit vectors, I did essentially the same thing, but just with bit vectors of size 4, because they are able to represent the numbers from 1 to 4 comfortably. But essentially I did the same thing. I just defined them as B for bit vectors instead of A, which was just a placeholder. I did the same constraints, but with hexadecimal representation, because bit vectors are not compatible with integers, so I had to use that. It essentially does the same thing. The bvul is the smaller equal command that I've looked up. It does essentially say x1, so the number 1 hexadecimal representation is smaller equal to B11, and B11 is smaller equal to the hexadecimal representation of 4. So this ensures that there are only numbers between 1 and 4 within the cells of the grid. But here I have defined the corresponding cells, right? In Sudoku 26, which is that one. So row 1, column 2, which is that one, is defined as 3. Then 2, 2 is defined as 2. 3, 3 is defined as 4, and 3, 4 is defined as 1. So this 3, 3, 3, 4, right? And then I essentially added the same rules as for the integer version, but I use the other variable for bit vectors. Oh, there's a typo. Yeah, it is essentially the very same thing that ensures that there are no duplicates in each rows, in each columns, and then the 2x2 subgrid constraints, so that there are no duplicates within the subgrid, that every number is distinct within the subgrid. And then I check the satisfiability of the model, and I get the model, or a model of it. And whenever I run this, it says that there's an error, it's unsatisfiable, and the error comes up because there's no model that satisfies this whole thing. So therefore, get model command throws up an error. And yeah, that's about it. I can just real quick, oh man, where do I have that? I think it was Sudoku 26 int. I can just copy and paste that into the code so you can see the int version of it. This is essentially just the same thing as the bit vectors, where I define the cells of the Sudoku corresponding to the Sudoku 26 that I have in my student ID. So this is the integer version, and I will just go ahead and paste that from my code from the text file into the set3 interface. Whenever I run that, it says the same thing as a bit vector script. So it's unsatisfiable, and the other arrow gets raised because the get model command doesn't yield a model, because there is no model, as it's unsatisfiable. Yes, and I believe that should be about it. ID and face, great.